Hello everyone, welcome back to Sawyer Studios. I'm Nathan Sawyer and you're listening to some more LEGO news. And this is more along the lines of predictions of what I'm thinking that the decade from 2020 to 2029 is going to hold for UCS sets. Now, I was looking at a list of UCS sets, and I was seeing the dichotomy between the first decade of LEGO Star Wars UCS sets from 2000 to 2009 to this decade we just passed from 2010 to 2019. Oddly enough, both decades had 17 UCS sets within each of them. Now, I'm not counting the motorized AT-AT Walker, I'm not counting the dropship, I'm not counting the Porg or the BB-8 or Dio or the helmet sets because they aren't UCS sets. They were never branded as UCS sets. I'm not counting the most previously released Tanta V4 either, because that technically wasn't a UCS set either, even though it could have passed as one. To be perfectly honest, the box art was there, the instruction manual even was in the style of UCS, but it wasn't officially labeled UCS, so we're going to ignore those sets. Overall, all of the officially labeled UCS sets for the first decade and the second decade are the same, 17 sets. Now, if we look at them though, if we look at the number of copies that we've seen between both years, the first decade and the second decade have 8 UCS sets in common. The second decade and the newly formed third decade, which will range from 2020 to 2029, has 1 set in common so far, and that is the R2-D2. So far we are seeing some very nice symmetrical patterns here. Looking at the repeats from the first decade to the second decade, we have the X-Wing Starfighter. First one came out in 2000 and the second one 2013. That's a 13-year gap. The next one was the Sandcrawler. First one came out in 2005, second one came out in 2014. That's a 9-year gap. Third one is the Death Star. First one came out in 2008, second one came out in 2016, which is only an 8-year gap. Then we have the Snowspeeder. First one came out in 2004, second one 2017, which was 13 years. Millennium Falcon 2007 to 2017, 10 years. The Y-Wing Starfighter 2004 to 2018, 14 years. And this next one, by far the biggest gap, these two, the Imperial Star Destroyer and the Yoda, both came out first in 2002 and then in 2019. Now, technically, the most recent Yoda isn't a UCS set, but it's worth noting that it was made before as a UCS set, and both of them were 17 years apart. And that was the first time we got to see a redo of this buildable Yoda. And then, of course, we have the R2-D2 coming out in 2021, May 4th this year, and that will be 9 years apart because the last one was made in 2012. So what do we know about this information? It's very interesting that in the second decade, from the latter half of 2016 all the way to the end, all the way to 2019, were all remakes. Death Star, Snowspeeder, Millennium Falcon, Y-Wing Starfighter, Imperial Star Destroyer, and the Yoda. All of them right there. And this is a product, I believe, of one thing and one thing only. LEGO wants to stick with the original trilogy, but they're having a couple roadblocks blocking them from pushing out new stuff for UCS sets. Now, we're seeing next year is a perfect, or sorry, this year, keep thinking it's still 2020. This year is a perfect example of the two of the roadblocks that is in front of LEGO with UCS sets. LEGO doesn't like prequel anything. LEGO tries to stay away from the prequels as much as they can. Why do you think that LEGO hasn't made as many Clone Wars sets? Because they don't like the prequels, because they feel like the prequels are not as much money grabbers to put their time and effort into it, because the vast majority of older Star Wars fans, which arguably they have the money and they're raising the next generation and the kids, and they're teaching original trilogies like the gospel. It's it is these Star Wars. Those three movies are golden. And so that's where a lot of the money lies. So LEGO continuously makes more, abundantly more, original trilogy sets in general. I mean, we only really see original trilogy and prequel remakes, vastly more original trilogy remakes. Along with the newer sets that come out because of new movies or TV shows, those don't really count because it's new, it's fresh. So obviously LEGO's going to make sets for those, but are they going to make them again? Probably not. I highly doubt we'll ever get remakes of Rogue One or Solo. It could happen, but at the rate that Disney is pumping out new content, LEGO isn't going to have time to put a Rogue One remake 5 years from now, because we'll be in a new movie trilogy. We'll probably have a TV show going on as well, and the remake sets will be set aside for like Luke Land speeders and other original trilogy sets and all that jazz. Maybe a couple prequel sets if we're lucky. So we're probably not going to see a lot of those remakes again. But LEGO is pushing itself out of its comfort zone and doing the gunship because the fans have spoken in their little poll, vote, and survey, and we want the gunship. We want the gunship, and LEGO has given us, or is going to give us, the gunship. And I think this is hopefully going to start to break LEGO's mold of, hey, maybe we shouldn't be afraid of prequels, because including the gunship, this has been our fifth prequel set. We've only had 5 prequel sets in the entire 5 prequel UCS sets in the history of LEGO UCS sets. This is the 5th one. First decade, we had 3, I believe. Yeah, the Darth Maul bust, the General Grievous, and what was the third one? The special edition Naboo Starfighter. Now, those are obvious because the prequel series came out within that first decade, so obviously they were fresh, and LEGO made a couple. They were obviously going to focus on the original trilogy because that was way more popular, but the prequel movies were new then, so they were going to make some, and then this past decade, we've only received one. That was the Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter way back in 2010. That was like practically part of the first decade. So now we skip practically a decade later, and we finally get our first prequel UCS set since the Obi-Wan Jedi Starfighter in 2010, which is the gunship. Now, LEGO, I think, because the last 6 UCS sets in the second decade of releasing were all remakes. That shows that LEGO was, in fact, running out of more original trilogy sets to base off of UCS sets. And so, once again, another roadblock mentioned for this year, we have the AT-AT. A roadblock I feel like that LEGO has had in the past is not being able to structurally make a good set. And lots of LEGO creators have talked about the AT-AT problem, with it being top heavy. Obviously they've solved it because we're getting one. But they are still currently talking about a TIE bomber and how that is why they haven't made a playable, like, cheap version of it. And it's because they feel like they can't get the design right for it to be small, playable, structurally sound enough for kids to play with it, and to get the piece count low enough so that they can have the price affordable. So they want to save that for a UCS set, which is why I was in the poll with a gunship along with the Nebulon B frigate. So a lot of this has to do with just structural integrity and LEGO not advanced enough to create these ships. We have seen a huge jump in just infrastructure-wise in LEGO recently, so that's why we're getting an AT-AT. So I'm hoping the mixture of LEGO not being so afraid of prequel sets, and also LEGO improving on their LEGO design and how they're making LEGO, and the pieces that they're making, and new pieces that they're making, and the new building styles and techniques that they're utilizing. I think that this third decade of UCS sets, we're going to see a wave of a lot of new stuff, and I'm excited. I honestly don't truly expect to see a lot of remakes for the first 5 years or so. And this is because you look at all these remakes, they're all 10 plus years apart, except with 8 years for the Death Star and 9 years for the Sandcrawler. All the way up to 17 years. If anything, I could see them remaking some of these sets, but in the latter half of this third decade, so 2025 post. I do believe that especially with this new emergence of this Master Builder series that we had with Cloud City and Mos Eisley, I think this is now opening up a buffer zone for LEGO to save themselves on UCS sets. So now they don't have to continuously remake original trilogy UCS sets. They can take a slot in a year in which a UCS set would have been released and replace it with a Master Builder series instead and be like, you know what, we're going to go with this. And so now I'm going to go through what I believe we are going to see within this next third decade. No sequel trilogy UCS sets. Sequel trilogy, if LEGO is afraid to make prequel trilogy UCS sets, LEGO's definitely not going to make sequel trilogy UCS sets until they start warming up to the idea of the prequel trilogy. So I'm going to make a very bold claim that, and this is a bold claim because this spans for 10 years. We're at the brunt of it. I'm going to say no sequel trilogy UCS sets for this entire decade. You can quote me on it. That's my prediction. Of course, we have the BB-8, the DR, and the Porg. Once again, not counting those. No Mandalorian UCS sets. We did, of course, have Baby Yoda, but once again, not counting that. No Mandalorian UCS sets for this next 10 years. And why is that? Because The Mandalorian's a TV show and it's too... has too much spontaneity to it. It's too sporadic. Like, people were saying, oh, UCS Razor Crest, it got blown up. And LEGO's not going to make a UCS set of something that blew up. Now, everyone's like, oh, but the Death Star blew up. Yeah, but the Death Star is iconic. Like, the Death Star is an iconic part of Star Wars. The Razor Crest is the iconic ship for The Mandalorian, but it's new. It hasn't developed. It hasn't aged well. Like, the Death Star is aged like a nice piece, like a nice cheddar or a nice wine. You know, like, it's just aged in years where it's kind of just been a part. It doesn't feel like it blew up. It just feels like it's a part of Star Wars. The Razor Crest, to a lot of people, feels like it's no longer part of Star Wars. Like, it's gone. It's absolutely 100% gone. When you think of the Death Star, you don't think of it as gone. You think of it as just a part of the universe. Like, I can't even describe it. Maybe you can, in the comment section, explain what I'm feeling right now. Or maybe you don't feel the same way. But that's how I feel. The Death Star itself is part of Star Wars and continues to be part of the essence. So I think it's different than the Razor Crest. So no Mandalorian sets. It's a TV show. I think that would be a huge gamble on LEGO's part to try to do that. Once again, I think we are going to have more prequel sets, and I'd like to point out that these 4 sets in particular, I would bet money on seeing in this upcoming decade. I would bet money on a U-wing, because we have an A-wing, a B-wing, an X-wing, and a Y-wing, and we just need the U-wing to complete the Rebel, like, sort of fighter class group squadron. The emergence of the U-wing with Rogue One, I think, really pushed off. And then we had Squadrons, and we're going to have the Cassian Andor show, which will most definitely have a U-wing. I just think that it's very likely that LEGO is going to complete the pentafecta, I don't even know what you call that group, the quintet of Rebel fighters with the U-wing, so I think that's high on the list. A Death Star remake, we didn't get one this year. I wasn't thinking we were going to get one this year, but I do think that another Death Star is going to come this decade. I know that's a really broad and probably that's a super safe thing to say. Sometime in this decade, we'll get a Death Star. But I'm going to say that anyway because I'm like very confident about that. And the other 2, TIE Bomber and Nebulon B Frigate. The fact that LEGO made them as options in the poll meant that they knew that they could do it. And if LEGO does end up running out of original trilogy ideas, they're going to draw from the ideas that they already have, TIE Bomber and Nebulon B Frigate. I wouldn't be surprised if LEGO made both of those within this decade. Now, I have some predictions for potential prequel sets that LEGO could go with if they run out of original trilogy ideas and if they're actually not being afraid completely of what the prequels have to offer. And Anakin's Pod Racer. I think we could get that. A UCS MTT, which would be interesting. That one's at the way lower part of the list. Like, that was sort of like an add-on to, I guess it could, might as well add it on in case. UCS ATTE, UCS Venator Both of those sets I think are highly likely, especially with the UCS gunship coming out. Imagine UCS ATT kind of just makes sense. It would go with that episode 2 feel. And also, fans have been wanting a UCS Venator for a very long time. It's just LEGO could not make one that soon because we just got the UCS Imperial Star Destroyer in 2019. So I feel like they'd have to at least wait 5 years before they made the UCS Venator. So I'm going to date the Venator for 2004, around that time, if we do get one. UCS Clone Juggernaut. And that might be half wishful thinking, but I do think that's like the next prominent vehicle for the Republic other than the ATT Walker. ATT Walker's above that one. And then I have 2 Master Builder sets on here that I think are very potential. Master Builder Jedi Temple and Master Builder Geonosian Arena. If we were to get any Master Builder series for the prequels, I think those 2 would be the most popular. Next are the predictions for the new original trilogy. So I'm not going to say what remakes I think are going to be made in this decade. This is the list that I've made that I think if LEGO were to have to draw off of new ideas from original trilogy, I think these would be the ones to go with. And I have 3 Master Builder sets right off the bat. The Yavin 4 base, which I was pushing for this past year. I think that would be a very cool and very simple Master Builder series to do. And I think a lot of people would actually get it, especially if you had like a little hangar with a spot for that scaled down X-Wing. I think that just sets it up perfectly. Also, John Dodonna came with that scaled down X-Wing, so you already have a John Dodonna minifigure who you only saw him in the Yavin 4 base. Not saying that LEGO, I'm just saying, like they come out with a downscaled X-Wing that could maybe fit in a Master Builder series, Yavin 4 base. I'm just saying, in the minifigs, and you have Princess Leia. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Master Builder Endor Bunker. That I think that's just widely understood in the community to be something that we kind of want a remake from. The 2009 one. 2009 was cool, but I think a remake of a Endor Bunker would be well appreciated, definitely. And then this is an interesting one that I kind of just thought of. A Master Builder Death Star. Imagine, because we have the classic Death Star, where it's the shape of a sphere, you have the different rooms and stuff. What if LEGO came out with a UCS Death Star 2, because a lot of people want a remake of a UCS Death Star 2, but think that LEGO made a Master Builder Death Star, where it was a lot of different rooms, but more intricate. Because you have the UCS Death Star and the rooms are small, they're crammed, it's very downscaled. What if LEGO took some truly iconic rooms from the Death Star and then laced it together into something like Cloud City? This, the more I talk about it, sounds more of a long shot, but I mean, hey, I feel like if you were to make a Master Builder set, Death Star would be a pretty smart idea. Just saying. We already talked about the Nebulon B frigate TIE bomber. I think a home one. If we're going the route of a Nebulon B frigate, I think we can go the route of a home one. I think we could go the route of pretty much any ship in the original trilogy, but I'm going to point out home one because we got the interior, the bridge in 2009, and I think that it's such a beloved ship that LEGO could do it. And I think we've gone past the point of brick restrictions, because again, the AT-AT, I don't think a home one would be a problem for LEGO now. Now, thinking more on the Tatooine level, a UCS Luke land speeder. I don't like saying it either, but I'd be very sad. But I think it's a very big possibility that we all should keep under our belt and remember, yeah, that's a possibility. The more exciting Tatooine one, a UCS sail barge. And I was thinking of a Master Builder Jabba the Hutt's palace, but with the whole debacle with the Jabba the Hutt's palace beforehand, I'm not quite sure if LEGO's gonna come near that with a 10-foot pole. However, I would have suggested a Master Builder Jabba's palace. I don't know, but I could see a UCS something where it's more like a UCS sail barge, something to do with the Jabba scene. I think that'd be very interesting. Now, for the remakes, if no Master Builder Death Star, then as I said, maybe just a regular Death Star, maybe a Death Star 2, or just a remake of another just regular dollhouse style Death Star. I definitely see an X-Wing post 2025 because we got one in 2013. That would have been a plus 10-year jump. So I definitely see another X-Wing. The one that came out in 2013 seems more and more outdated every year that goes by. So I can see like improving on it. I can see a B-Wing post 2025. I can see them remaking that one and touching it up a bit. I can also see a TIE Fighter post 2025, the one that we got once again. As the years go by, as LEGO continuously advances in their techniques, it seems more and more outdated. I really want a remake of a Super Star Destroyer, and I know a lot of people also really want a remake of the Imperial shuttle Tridarium. And I'm on the fence with these because both of these would be good remakes if LEGO needed to make some remakes in this decade. However, I don't know LEGO's thought process when it comes to these sets because they might think, oh, this was such an iconic set, it's a one and done thing. The more years that go by, I feel like that's LEGO's mindset to like the dropship and AT-OT Walker. Like it's such an iconic set of that year, it was more of a one and done thing. We're never going to go back to it unless we're truly desperate. But LEGO's not truly desperate for content because Disney, thanks to Disney, is producing so much more Star Wars content than ever before. So I would like to put those two on the list. And so we're going to keep them on the fence. And we're just going to let that simmer. And then maybe Vader's TIE Advance. I put maybe, I mean, technically all of these are predictions, but I put maybe in front of this one particularly because the other ones, I'm like, yeah, I could see. This one, it's like, I could see, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so LEGO in this decade, they're either going to make a lot of remakes or they're going to force themselves to start pulling from the prequel trilogy. And I think LEGO's going to start pulling more from the prequel trilogy. And I hope we don't get a butt ton of remakes because I think that would be bad for sales. I mean, sure, the people who missed them the first time or maybe even the second time have a chance to get them now. And then you have the people who are hardcore collectors who collect everything, but I feel like the vast majority of people have already gotten them, or if they didn't get one before, it's because they didn't want one. So I don't know. I could see LEGO doing it, but I guess if the money's there, then the money's there. But that's my overall prediction for UCS sets in the coming third decade that we're technically already in. We're in the second year. So we've got 8 years left of this decade to see what type of UCS sets. I think we're off to a very good start because we've gotten, so far, only one copy, which is R2-D2, and the 3 sets this decade are all new. One of them is a prequel set. So this is LEGO turning over a new leaf. I think this is the best way to do it. I think we have some true potential for Master Builder Series and UCS sets this coming decade. So pray that we do get some new sets, these new ideas. So I really hope that I'm right in these predictions. I think that'd be great. Let me know what you all think in the comment section below. I feel like this was a very long video, but I had a lot of stuff to think through. But yeah, definitely let me know in the comment section what sets you want to see in this decade, where you think I'm right, where you think I'm wrong, and we'll see as the decade develops, and I'll be updating these videos as we continue throughout, hopefully saying along the way I was right about that. So like, comment, subscribe, click that bell icon, join the Discord server. This is Story Studios. I'm Nathan Story. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.